Hi, this is Mike Diaz, and you're listening to Mike Delivers with Mike Biseglia. Mike and I work together at CBS Sports Radio, which means we have the shared experiences of leaving for work before sunrise, eating cold food with unknown origin, and trying to find a new angle for an old story. Congrats on your transition to podcasting, Mike, where commercials are 5 minutes shorter and the average listener age is 50 years younger.
Welcome inside Mike Delivers from his wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. Here's your host, Mike Biseglia.
That's right. This is Mike Delivers, episode number 125. And I'm your host, Mike Biseglia. And I'm coming to you from my wife's kitchen in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Not my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4, where I should be recording this outside of the Chipotle in Bloomfield, New Jersey. But because the RAV4 is still in the shop, I'm recording this from my house. It should be done. I'm recording this. Hopefully I'm staring at my phone, waiting to get the call that the RAV4 is ready to rock and roll again. More details coming on in just a matter of seconds because the car is not ready and it's driving me utterly insane. I've done 1,667 deliveries, have not, will not steal food from anybody. I also have a 99% driver satisfaction rating. You can find this podcast where all major pods are found. Of course, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, you know all of them. Go ahead, download, subscribe, share it with friends. It's greatly appreciated. If you want to get more of the Mike Delivers podcast, head on over to the Mike Delivers Patreon page. Type in patreon.com. I sound so old school there. Type in go to patreon.com, or if you're on your smartphone, get the Patreon app. Type in Mike Delivers. There you get bonus content, an extra episode every week. That episode is on video. I also have food reviews where, I'm not just reviewing food. I'm blindfolded, and I have to say which one I like better. And I also get blindfolded, and I have to guess what I'm eating, which, by the way, is like my favorite and least favorite part of the week, because I'm the anxiety and anticipation of knowing what my wife's going to shove in my mouth is very scary. And then there's times where I'm tasting stuff that's utterly disgusting, and there's sometimes where it's tasty. But that anticipation is wild. You can see those videos on the Mike Delivers Patreon page. Also, check out theprosclub.com. Over there, you can find other great podcasts like Bad Weather Fans. That's what I do with my friend Alex. We do a little Nets Knicks podcast. Check that out. And if you want to make your own podcast, the Pros Club can do that for you. If you want to do a podcast about being an Uber Eats driver, DoorDash driver, go ahead. Or maybe it's for your business that you have and you want to get the word out there about what you're doing. The Pros Club can create that for you. Send me an email, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com. We can get on that today and start setting up a podcast for you. Awesome interview coming up on this episode of the Mike Delivers podcast. I'll be speaking with Ryan Ruocco. Ryan does play-by-play on the Yes Network for the Yankees, for the Brooklyn Nets, who you know, of course, that I love. He also does play-by-play for ABC, ESPN, doing some of their games, some of their big weekly, weekend games, the biggest games of the night. He's doing some of those, and also has a great podcast, R2C2, with CC Sabathia. They've got an episode out with Action Bronson I highly recommend. So we're going to get into a little food back and forth, talk about the delivery game, my interview with Ryan Ruocco in just a matter of moments. But first, I will address the car. I am still without my wife's 2017 Toyota RAV4. We're going on a bunch of weeks now. I believe it's 3 weeks on Tuesday, and it should have been ready last week at the end of the week. There's been so much confusion with the body shop dealing with Toyota. I have to say they have done a terrible job with this, and I'm not the kind of person that likes to say things like that because I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, not the benefits of the doubt, although in this case you get the benefits of the doubt. There has been a bad communication error from them to my insurance company, and it is driving me nuts. I feel like I'm producing for CBS Sports Radio again, and the fact that I'm trying to coordinate everybody when they should just be doing their jobs, and I have to stick my nose in places where I shouldn't be and explain to other people how to do their jobs, and it's driving me utterly insane. But I should have the car back hopefully later today as I'm recording this, definitely by tomorrow. And then at that point, Stories from the Road will continue as I'll be back on the road delivering for Uber Eats and all the hilarity that is ensued from there. But boy, has it been utterly, massively driving me bonkers. But let's get to the interview portion of this podcast. As I mentioned before, Ryan Ruocco, big foodie. We'll talk about that foodie word. And he's great at his craft. His podcast is awesome. He's an extraordinarily amazing play-by-play guy. But this conversation's straight about food. We get into the food game, all things food delivery. Hope you guys enjoy it. Here's my conversation with Ryan Ruocco. It's the Mike Delivers podcast, and excited to have on the line today Ryan Ruocco, Nets, Yankees play-by-play. You can also see him on ESPN doing NBA work there, doing play-by-play, and his podcast, R2C2 with CC Sabathia. They actually have Action Bronson coming out, I believe I just saw on Twitter. So good stuff right there. Check out his podcast. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me and giving the plugs. Yeah, Action is amazing. He's just like the most interesting man in the world, so that episode will be good. And I'm happy to be on with you, Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'll start with this. So I have an 8-week-old baby. His name is Ryan. Now,
great name.
I don't want to say that we named Ryan after you. That would be a complete lie. But what I will say is when my wife and I are like going through the names of people that could, this is it. Like, this is your kid's name. You got to go through names of people that are involved in your life. And my wife and I watch every single Nets game. So, like, if we didn't like you, like his name could be Billy or something. I don't know. So thank you for that. I appreciate it.
That is awesome. Honestly, that's one of the, that's a statement that may have just provided me with the greatest feeling of honor that I've ever had in my life. So I greatly appreciate that. But I do know what you mean, because it's like, let's say you want to name your daughter, Chris, and you happen to know like 3 Chris's who are just the worst.
Right.
Or your son, Chris. Like, you're not going to do it. That's it. Like, done. Right. Chris is done. So I'm glad that Ryan was still an option for you.
Yeah. So I much appreciated there. And then I saw on your Twitter page, I love food. I love food shows. I don't like baking shows. But I saw on your Twitter page, I wrote it down. There's this Jumbo's Just Dessert or Zumbo's Just Dessert on Netflix. Is it good? Explain why and if I should watch it.
You should watch it. It's amazing. I'm a total foodie, like complete total foodie, to the point that I don't even like using that word, right? Because it's like, wait, don't we have something more niche than foodie, to describe the way I feel about food and the restaurant scene? But I don't usually like cooking shows. Like, they just don't interest me. But my fiance has been really into these baking shows, and so she had watched one called Sugar Rush, which this guy Adriano Zumbo is one of the judges of there. He's like an amazing pastry chef, Australian dude. And then the like spin-off of that or other show is Zumbo's Just Desserts, and the show is phenomenal. I mean, it's the best food show I've ever watched.
Okay.
He basically takes like 10 amateur bakers, but who are like, for whatever reason, they're really good, but they just don't do it professionally.
Right.
And they get like a theme, and there's like this gorgeous kitchen setup. It's like I think they call it like the Sweet Factory or something like that. I don't know. But like just looking at the ingredients, like, makes your mouth water. But then you watch them go through this process of trying to, like, if let's say the theme is like something scary.
Right.
Well, now they all have to like make a cake or dessert that's like something scary, and the desserts are just unbelievably elaborate. Then he and his partner, Rachel, I forget her last name, she's like the host / judge. They judge it. And the final 2 people, the worst 2 of the 10 to start off with, end up in the Zumbo challenge, where they have to recreate an actual dessert that Zumbo makes.
Okay.
And dude, it's amazing, because you think like, how are these like 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour challenges interesting? Obviously they're condensed into what becomes like a 40-minute episode,
right.
But it's dramatic. It's incredible. Just like the colors and the vibrance and the different shapes and themes and whatever. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And it's dramatic because you're like, you're seeing if they can hang or if they're going to get eliminated.
Okay, well, that's an excellent observation of it. So I will give it a chance. I'll let you know what I think about it because I will at least be willing to do that because I do love food shows. Like I'm addicted.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've made I quit CBS to be a full-time Uber Eats driver and talk about food. So I am obsessed with it. So I will check it out. I like what you said before, saying you're a foodie, but it's like you don't want to. There's like a stigma of the word, and then you don't want to say
right?
you're a foodie, and there's stuff that plays around with that. So I would say I consider myself the same way, and maybe my answer to that would be my day revolves around what the meal is going to be. So it's like I know like whatever dinner is, like I will then scout out and plan accordingly to make sure that I hit that sweet spot, that dinner is done right, and that I don't blow. Like if I know I have a big meal coming later, I'm not going to have something stupid earlier in the afternoon for lunch.
Yeah, that's a good way to play it. That's a real good way to play it. My fiance and I will do that if we know, especially if we know like, okay, on Saturday we have this crazy meal we're going to be having. Like, okay, we're going to play it safe throughout the week so that we can fully enjoy Saturday. But like I'm huge as far as like the New York City restaurant scene, but also like throughout the country because of traveling for play-by-play. Obviously it hasn't been happening lately. And so I just love finding different ways to support, restaurant industry and the hospitality industry. But man, I love that like feeling of being the dude who people can ask like, hey, do you have a good spot in this city? Yes. And I do, like I love that. And like, or like, okay, tell me where I should eat in New York. I'm here for 5 days or whatever. I'm in Minnesota for a night. Where should I get dinner? Spoon and Stable. Okay, great. Right. I love doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel you too. Like the pride in giving out information to make sure that somebody else can get the joy that that you would get going there. And I had a question for later in this episode, but I'm going to ask it now because it makes sense, and I think I know the answer. But I was curious, and I've asked this to other people, and I know the answer now. But like when people go on, this is pre-pandemic, of course, but going on the road, it's like, okay, we are in Indianapolis for a night, we're in Detroit for a night. Am I going to play it safe and go to a chain spot where I know what I'm going to get, or am I going to do a little research? Or from past experience of being on the road and go to this restaurant for the evening?
Yeah, I'm doing my research and I'm going to the local spot. I think there are some exceptions with chains. Like when I'm in Tampa for spring training, there's a lot of sort of like higher end chains there that are still really, really good. Like an Ocean Prime, if you will. Okay. So like I might do like that kind of thing, a Roy's, when I'm there. But normally, no, I'm going someplace local. So if I'm in Minnesota, I'm going to like either Spoon and Stable or Bar La Grassa. Or Bar La Grassa, the same owners have one other place. It's called like some 51 or something like that. If I'm in Indianapolis, like I know everybody goes to St. Elmo's, and I might, but I have some other spots in there that I really like. One place, Bluebeard. Couple other places that I like a lot. In Dallas, there's this unbelievable Italian spot called Nonna's. That is like, you would not think like it's in a strip mall or whatever, but it's just like, it's absolutely fantastic Italian. Their pizzas are ridiculous. Wine's amazing. Salt Lake City, Utah, like Valters, which has become a famous spot in NBA circles and stuff. Is just a dynamite Italian spot. So my only decision is like if I'm going out or not, because sometimes if I have a lot of games in a row, and I have to be careful with my voice, or if I have a ton of prep to do. I was about to curse. I wasn't sure if we do on this. Oh,
podcast. you can curse. It's up to.
I'm just going to say a shitload of prep.
Yes, so that's fair. You can say shitload, no problem.
If I have a shitload of prep, or if I'm trying to rest my voice, then I wouldn't go out. Then I'll just get room service. Or if I felt myself not feeling great, even pre-COVID, whatever, then I'll just get room service. But if I'm going out to dinner, I am definitely picking a great spot that's unique to that city, I'm not doing a chain unless I'm somewhere weird where I feel like that's the safest play. But otherwise, no. I have my specific spots in different places, or I'll do my research and find a place.
Speaking of doing research, like on the Uber Eats side or a DoorDash side, when you're getting food delivered to you, do you put in a ton of research on places you want to find? Or at this point, with the pandemic, I'm sure it's amped up with getting food delivered to your spot. Are you going to like 3 or 4 or 5 places that you know are reliable, or still trying to find new places to eat through the apps?
Good question. For the most part, I am going to my places that are reliable. And I think one of the great things that's happened as far as the restaurant industry goes during the pandemic, which, obviously most of what's happened has not been great for restaurants. But one thing that I think has been great for the consumer, and then I think subsequently it's been a good thing for the restaurants and will continue to be, is the way they've upped the quality of the food via, say, Uber Eats or DoorDash, right? Like it used to be that if you were ordering, like, first of all, you couldn't, right? But even if you were ordering takeout from a place that doesn't do delivery, the quality would be nowhere near what you would get if you were sitting at the restaurant.
Right.
And they have figured out a way so that it is that high of quality. Now, when I get my Uber Eats, I get my DoorDash, whatever, it's when I'm having it, I'm like, oh, it feels like I'm eating there, as far as the quality of the food goes. So that's huge. So like there are a few hits that I'd say we play in my house. We're huge fans of Mark Forgione. His restaurant in Tribeca is my favorite restaurant in the world. He also has Peasant. He took over about 1.5 years ago, as well as Kio. And so we order from those 3 restaurants a lot, and the quality is exactly like as if you're at the restaurant. So we'll rotate. There's 3 different kind of cuisine styles. We'll rotate that and then add in some other places that we like to go to, but can deliver, whether it's E. Sodi or Pasquale Jones or Charlie Bird or, some of my favorite places in New York. There's others too, but those are some that kind of, that I think are doing the delivery really well too.
Well, let me follow up with this. And this is something that my wife and I don't think we fight much, but we do fight about this and it comes up. I mean, it's a point of contention. And I think it's because, and this all makes sense when I ask the question, but we're hungry. So when you're hungry, shit happens. People are irritated with each other. I personally get stupid, and that's just what happens to me. So,
you're not the only one.
So thank you. So I'm curious. So this is the point I'm getting at. I like to get the food and I want to make sure that it's hot like I had it at the restaurant. So I strategically turn on the oven based on what the meal is, put it on 325. I know the food's 10 minutes away, get the oven ready, heat it up. My wife's is like, we're hungry. I've been waiting for 45 minutes. Just eat the damn food. I need to reheat whatever the meal is that's coming my way. Now I understand, you're getting sushi, you're not throwing it in the oven. I get that. But what would be your strategy then for reheating food that's delivered to your house?
I like your strategy. And I'm on your team, and my fiance would be on your wife's team because she doesn't mind at all, like eating, food that is, lukewarm or even not. And I think she's more about like, I've been waiting for the meal. I'm excited. Let me have it. And I am more so like, no, I need that stuff piping hot, and so, maybe certain dishes I'm like, okay with, right. But if, for example, Carbone, if I order their veal parm, which is amazing, I'm gonna, if it comes and it's not hot, I'm nuking it or putting it in the oven or whatever, I'm not going to just eat it. So I think it can depend on the dish, but in general, I will heat it up. I will say what's amazed me is I do feel like, however, restaurants have kind of gotten down their process during the period of time with all these reps, I don't always have to heat it, even as someone who likes it really hot. So I feel encouraged about that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. Would there be then a restaurant or two you would stay away from, knowing that it just doesn't deliver quite as well as having it at a certain restaurant that's around you?
I don't think so. Like saying there's a place that, oh, it's just not the same as when I'm in a
like,
restaurant.
I normally like having this, but I know like having it come to my house, it just doesn't feel the same. So I don't want to ruin that memory, for example.
No, I don't think so, man. I think, I went so long without stuff that I'm just more in the mindset of like, yeah, if I can order in, like,
right,
let's do it, because I missed all these places. I would say, I mean, my travel restricts it, but if I was in New York for a week, we're probably going out to dinner 3 times, and so, I do have a rotation of places, and I've mentioned a bunch of them that I like a lot and I go to a lot. Peppolino's, an Italian spot in Tribeca, I love. I actually went to last week. It's just unbelievable. The gnocchi is ridiculous. And Little Owl's, another one I love. Which, by the way, I am doing a thing on my Instagram now every Monday, Ruocco's Rex, where I'm throwing out some different restaurants in the city that I love. Nice. But I don't think, I don't think that there's a place that I look at and say, no, I can't get that delivered. I don't think so. I don't love getting sushi delivered. I don't know why. That's just a me thing, but that's not exclusive to one place.
Sure. I do love how when you're naming all of these restaurants, this is impressive, I will say. I mean, and I forgot what you said. I'm not going to try to recreate it, but you're naming these different places and then the dishes per spot. Like, to me, like that again, that's what makes you the foodie, is you have that memory and hey, that's where I like to get my veal parm. That's where I like to get my gnocchi. That's where I like to get whatever that food is.
Exactly.
I think that's incredible.
Well, see, that's part of why I did Ruocco's Rex, is not just recommending the restaurant, but what you get when you're there. Because I find that, that makes the experience, right? Like, so I'll take my restaurant, my favorite restaurant, Mark Forgione, for example. Like, I probably have sent over 100 people in there over the years, okay? Right. Maybe more. And the tentacles I can't even imagine how many, right. Because then most people go, they love it, they send others, right? And they, by the way, they need none of this. They're always packed. But, right. But I would tell them, like, when you go, you have to get the hiramasa. You have to get the Laotian sushi. You have to get the chili lobster. You got to get the chicken under a brick. You got to get the halibut in the proposal sauce. You have to do the 10-minute cookies. And if people don't ask, or if they don't follow, they may get some other things that are good, but they're just not like life-changing, right. Like they do really good steak, but is it like going to be that much of a differentiator? Like, to me, probably not. You're not like, you're like, oh, that was really good, but you're not like, that's like memorable. But I guarantee if you have that chicken under a brick, or you have that halibut in the proposal sauce, like, you're going to walk away like, oh my gosh, that was unbelievable. So I try and associate, or I try and point out the dishes you should have when you're going to a place I recommend, so that I can guarantee you're having the experience I want you to have.
Well, let's say, for example, you were to go with some friends and you're going to one of these restaurants and this person just orders like the salmon, and you're like, okay, I'm sure it's good salmon. I know the salmon's going to be good, but they're just like, I want to get the salmon. Does it then frustrate you when you try to convince this person, like, hey, you got to stay away from the salmon and you have to listen to me? And does that give you some frustration at points?
I'm not friends with those people. No, I think like most of the people I'm friends with, like that I go out to dinner with, have some foodie in them as well. And so they're like, for example, like when the last time I was at Mark Forgione with a group, which was a while ago now, but like, it was just like, hey, Ryan, you just order everything for us. You know, like that's the way my friends will often be at a place that they know I know really well. They'll just be like, you order it for us, we're good with whatever, So if it's like a more unique situation, somebody's a little more picky, or they have certain things they can or can't eat, then I might say, like, I know you got to stay away from this, but you may still want to go this. But I also sometimes, I like the experience of being out too. So there are times where, like, if I'm, I'm trying to be healthy, or I'm not trying to be indulgent, right? Where it's like, hey, I will get a salad and salmon, and because I know it's still a great experience there, whatever, even if the meal is just going to be very good instead of life-changing, but it's like fun to be out. So, so that's different. But if we're like going out to like, hey, this is like our one time out, with this couple for a month or whatever, we're going all in. Like,
right.
Yeah, then I'm going to say like, let's get a little more creative.
See, I would like going out and eating with you because my big problem, and this is like something that happens to me, is I get really bad food anxiety where I'll go to a restaurant and I worry that I picked the wrong item on the menu. So if there's something on there and it's like I'm choosing between the lamb and I'm choosing between the calamari, right? The grilled calamari. And it's like, what? I'll go with the calamari. And then the person next to me gets the lamb and I'm like, oh no. And
you're like, I should have gotten this. Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, oh man, I should have gotten this. And then you're like, no, why didn't I get this? Yeah.
It's the worst. And I just punish myself the whole evening for it. It's like, can I just have one bite? Is that okay?
I know exactly what you mean. My fiance and I will do that sometimes strategically where it's like, okay, you want to try this. I want to try this. We both want to try this. Do we order like a third entree and just try it and take the rest home? Do I get one thing, you get another? But like, it's a debate of how to handle it. Cause right. There are times where like, sometimes we'll just get a bunch of stuff and it's like, if we don't finish it, we'll have it tomorrow, but that way we can try everything.
Yeah, no, that's a smart move. Back to Uber Eats side of things. What's your etiquette and rules on tipping the delivery driver?
I mean, especially in these times, I've been trying to be. I always like to think I'm a pretty considerate tipper, but during these times, especially, I'm trying to be even more so. I mean, if you think about it, like now we have become somewhat accustomed and adjusted to this life, but especially when this started, it was like these were some of the only people who were out there working, who were keeping us all going. And so I try and reflect that when I am tipping. And so, that can manifest in different ways, but I try and make it, considerate.
That's a good answer because you are talking to an Uber Eats driver. So I believe you, and I know you mean that in your heart. But thank you. That's cool to hear and good to hear. Do you have any though, like any horror stories from a delivery where like the food was gone or something happened where all of a sudden like the delivery driver bolted? If you don't, you don't. But is there anything that crosses your mind on an experience like what the hell just happened?
No, I don't think. I think one time we had a dude during COVID at some point, he was like picking up bagels for us and it like took 2.5 hours or something like that. So we're just like, well, forget it. He had picked them up and he didn't come or whatever. So then we ordered other bagels, but then eventually he did come and they were like rocks. And I was like, well, this is not going to be helpful to anybody. But other than that, I don't think so, man. I think that's probably it.
All right, cool. Good to hear. All right, well, hard-hitting question time here now, and this is something I'm dying to know. So this is not like a get-you question or anything, but did Richard Jefferson really go a full year without eating French fries, or was that just for shtick? Like he legit went a full year without eating French? I just can't buy that a human could do that unless they didn't like potatoes.
Yeah, no. The only thing I'd say is Richard, nobody knows when Richard is telling the truth or lying. So fair. I could tell you, yes, he did go a full year, but I wouldn't really know. The only way I could tell you no, he didn't is if I saw him eat them in front of me, but I did not see that. So he could have, but we absolutely cannot trust Richard's word because Richard is one of the great deadpan comedians I've ever known. So I mean, just for example, when Steve Nash got the Nets job, he had all of us convinced he was leaving to be a part of Steve's coaching staff. Like our boss, everybody. And Richard was absolutely full of crap. He was just joking with us. So, I mean, it was a great prank, but so I can't confirm. I have no idea on the French fries.
Well, it's not too far of a stretch too, I guess, as believable levels because, Amari's going on the staff. Now, obviously he's got the connection with Steve, but, former player, same kind of era as when RJ was playing. So I could understand kind of totally buying into that and wanting to get into the coaching realms.
That's what, I couldn't see him wanting to like put up with players, nor could I see him wanting to take a reduction in salary to travel and work more. But he sold it because he can sell anything. So, right. So yeah, I feel like because of this, we'll never really know about the French fries.
Is there an arena that you think has the best media meal?
I actually think Brooklyn does. Like I've been to every NBA arena, and there are some that are better than others. But I think the Nets have the best media food. They have like a legit different good meal every time. Not just like some places have like, okay, you got the salad bar or whatever, but you look at the main meal and you're like, yeah, I really don't want to have to eat that, but like the Nets main meal is always like really good. And then they also have additional things. Like they have the salad bar, they have tons of desserts, popcorn, whatever. But their main meal usually is like, some kind of meat or fish, then like a veggie option off of that, then like a vegetable, and then maybe like a pasta or some other kind of starch or whatever. And it's always really good.
Very nice. How about chartered flight, like after a game and you're flying back and it's with the team or something? I'm always just like, I'm so curious. What are those meals like? Like it's like 11:30 at night, and it's like, how did a steak get on an airplane? Like how does that work? Like, why is this good?
Typically, the meals, usually when you get on, there'll be like some snacks and maybe some snacks set up for when you get on, and and the players have more, as they should. But and then there's like maybe some like apps situation. And then you'll have an entree options, which always have like good sides as well. Sometimes they'll order from a local place. Sometimes I think usually it is from a local place. Like it'll be catered from a local place. But it's great, man. Like that part of there's a lot of parts that are great flying with the teams. That part of it is amazing. I will say, I think the Yankees have an even better food setup flying. They have like multiple different past hors d'oeuvres, if you will, that happen when you get on. It's amazing. And then they actually have you like a printed out menu where you circle what you want and whatever. And it's incredible, man. And then if you want, there's usually like warm cookies or ice cream or whatever, which I usually stay away from, because if not, it can get away from you in a season.
Oh yeah.
But they used to, when I first was with the Nets, we used to have these like baskets of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that would be up in the luggage racks. And when I would walk off the plane at the end of the night, I would just like, you're walking off at 3 a.m. You're like, screw this. Like, I'm having this, like I would just crush PB&Js. I would because it would be like the extra ones too, that the players didn't have. And I would literally take like 3 PB&Js with me and just hammer them.
I'm just having this vision in my head. This could have been years ago, but like Keith Van Horn getting off an airplane and he's just like taking peanut butter and jelly sandwiches off the top and just like going back home somewhere in New Jersey. Like that vision just came to my head. I don't know why it was him, but it just
it's probably
popped in
accurate.
my head.
Yeah, it's probably accurate.
And I like what it was. Like I'm so obsessed with wanting to know what's on these airplanes. You see these like the Nets did it a couple of times. Like after a big win, they take like a photo on the airplane. It's like all the guys together. Like they make T-shirts of it. It's a great idea. It's a cool idea. I'm like, okay, I take a photo of it, and then I'm like zooming in. I'm like, I think Jared Dudley has the chicken parm. Like I was like, I need to see what's on these planes. Like I took it that seriously.
Well, what's funny is like on the Yankees plane, they'll actually have certain things they know the guys like already at their seats when they get there, when they walk on.
Oh, nice.
Like, so, and it is interesting because there's some guys who you're like, how do they eat, king size candy bars or whatever, you know what I mean? Or you're like, it's kind of like Mike Mussina he loved his sweets, and Joe Girardi started like, tampering that, or at least the options of the sweets in the clubhouse and playing, etc. Which, understandably so. These are professional athletes trying to fuel the body, whatever. You don't want to make it eat. We all know if it's in front of you, it's a lot easier to eat, right?
Sure.
But like Mussina would like go into the stands to get ice cream then, like to get his sweet fix. Like, and he's like, I'm this age. I know how to do my job. I don't need to be told what to eat.
Right.
But I think it's funny. But yeah, it depends. Different teams have different stuff, but there's definitely more of a health conscious, focus, which I like. But it's like you could have a great, great meal. And some, I know some teams allow wine, some teams don't, it depends on the sports, and there's, different things on that front. But what's universal is like, if you want a good dinner, you're going to get a good dinner.
Yeah. That's super cool. Well, Ryan, I appreciate you hopping on the podcast. A couple of just kind of quick hitters that I end with all my guests. So I think I know what you're going to say in this first one. I'll be very disappointed if it's different. So rapid fire here. First thing that comes to your mind, how do you like your steak cooked?
I like my steak cooked medium.
Okay.
You thought I was going to say medium rare.
Yeah, a little disappointed. It's okay.
Yeah.
We'll get over it. I
like it medium. I sometimes will do medium rare, but I actually usually say medium.
Cake or pie?
Cake.
Waffle or pancake?
Pancake.
Best thing you ate in the last 7 days from us recording this right now?
Best thing I ate in the last 7 days from us recording this right now was the halibut in the proposal sauce at Mark Forgione.
And then finally, this is a good question for you. I'm looking forward to this one. It's you're sending out your wedding invitations. Do you invite me to your wedding?
No.
I appreciate the honesty. That's most important.
But Mike, I will tell you, unfortunately, no one got to come to my wedding because of COVID. So
I know.
So you're in a big club, man. So it's nothing personal.
I know, and I should have asked a question like this. And when I started this question, it was pre-pandemic, so it should be clarified. If you're sending out your wedding invitations and we're in normal times and you can talk to another human being, would you invite me? But I asked the question already, so it doesn't even matter. That's how we have to end it. That's the proper way to do it. And
the answer is still no.
Even better. Ryan Ruocco, thank you so much for hopping on the podcast. Check out his R2C2 with CC Sabathia. Highly recommend listening to it. I'm sure find it where all major pods are found. Ryan, thanks for coming on the Mike Delivers podcast.
Appreciate it. Anytime you want to talk food, you let me know.
Thank you, Ryan Ruocco, for hopping on the Mike Delivers podcast. Thank you for being honest about the wedding. I do appreciate that. And thanks for telling me about all those awesome restaurants that you order from. Totally going to be checking out those menus. Wrote them all down. I need to now see all these amazing dishes that Ryan talked about. Loved our conversation. Thank you again for hopping on with me here on the Mike Delivers podcast. Episode 126 drops on Thursday. And as Side Dish Month continues, if you're new to this and you don't know what we're doing, my wife and I are getting side dishes from 2 comparable type chain restaurants and then seeing which one I like better. Thursday, and there'll be a video attached to this. You can find it on all social media, Mike Delivers Pod. I'm blindfolded for this, and I try the macaroni and cheese from KFC and the macaroni and cheese from Panera Bread. You'll see which one I like more, and we'll take a deep dive into macaroni and cheese, and also something about Panera Bread side dishes that I've been just really wanting to get off my chest. My wife and I will get into all of that. That's on episode 126 that drops on Thursday. But thank you to Ryan Ruocco for coming on episode 125. Thank you to The Beautiful Noise. They are the soundtrack to this podcast. It would not be the same without them. And of course, thank you to you guys for continuing to download and listen to the Mike Delivers podcast. It is greatly appreciated. And if you want to create your own podcast, email me, MikeDeliversPod@gmail.com. We can get that done for you. This has been episode 125. We'll see you next time for 126.